In this screencast, we're going to create a more complex web form where we will collect information from multiple contacts and add an activity. So in this scenario, we're going to create a form, a web form, that's a youth leadership program application form. So what we're going to want to do in this form is we want the applicant or the youth information. We're going to want another contact, their parent guardian, and get their information. And we're also going to want the school that they are part of, because we are tracking schools and we also do outreach to schools. So we want to have that information as well. And we want to create an activity that attaches to the youth participant or the youth applicant that has information about their interests in the program. So several things that have to get set up here. And as always with web forms, we start with what fields currently exist in the database and what fields we need to create in the database. Now, much of the contact information like name and address and all that is already in the database, so we don't need to recreate those. But there are things to consider. When it comes to the youth applicant and the parent's guardian, at least for the youth applicant, I want to make sure I'm grabbing things like I may need to know their date of birth. That stuff already exists in the database. For the school, though, since we're tracking schools and doing this a little differently, I like to be able to decipher what kind of an organization, because I have special information I track about schools. I created a contact type called school. So contact types, if you're going to do things like that, you can go to Administer, Custom Data Screens, and you can see under Contact Types, I created a contact type for school. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I have special fields, custom fields that extend school contact types. And if I go take a look at that, if I go to Administer, Custom Data and Screens, Custom Fields, I created a school info custom data set that extends organization of type school. And here, and again, this is, you may not need to do this, but I do for my work. I am collecting information about the type of school. So I know, because sometimes names of schools are not helpful. And if we're doing outreach to schools, we like to know what kind of school they are. So that's the school. Now, when it comes to the activity, I will want a custom activity to track that someone has entered and applied for this youth leadership program. So what I did is I created a custom activity type. I went to Administer, Custom Data and Screens, Activity Types. And I created one here called Youth Leadership Application, because I want to know that they're applying and I want to see the information. And so with that, I wanted to also create custom fields that extend this activity type of youth leadership application. So I created yet another set, custom data set. So I went to Administer, Custom Data and Screens, Custom Fields. And here I created one under Youth Application, Youth Leadership Application Fields. If I open that up, you can see I have things like what grade. And again, this is up to you. I decided our youth are everywhere from 7th grade to college level. That could be whatever you decide. I have some workshop interest options, because I want to see what they, so I can get some numbers, at least initial numbers of what folks are interested in attending. And then there's some details, because we want to get a sense. It's an application. I want to get a sense of some information from them. So I created a note field for them to enter a description of why they want to apply. So these are my custom fields. And now I'm ready to set up the web form. So to go to web form, so it's just like you were starting a standard web form. I'm going to go Administer, Drupal Administration. Again, you will need permissions for this, so just contact support if you don't have permissions. I'm going to go to Drupal Administration. I'm going to go to Content, is where we start building the web form. I'm going to click on Add Content. and I'm going to click on web form. So now I'm ready to start my form. I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it our PTP Youth Leadership Application. So this is our Youth Leadership Application, and maybe I'll just call it Youth Leadership Program Application. Nice. If I want to create an easy URL that I can pass around, since this is a public form, I can also do that. So remember, URLs cannot have any kind of spaces. I'm just nice long URL, and then I'm going to hit save. All right, so that at least gets it started. It hasn't really created anything yet, but a few things I want to make sure. This is going to be a public form. I want to make sure that on the form settings, I'm going to make sure that under the permissions that it allows anonymous users to submit on the form. So in other words, they don't have a login to the database. So definitely wanted to make sure that that's there, and so I do. I'm going to go to now and go to Civi CRM as where I can go and enable the PowerBase fields that I want to display and collect information. So I've checked on the enable Civi CRM. Now here's a place where you have to decide how many contacts you want to collect. And I basically have 3. I have the youth applicant, I have the parent guardian, because I will do some outreach to the parent guardian. If I wasn't, then I wouldn't create one. But since I do want to do some outreach to the parents or guardians, I want another contact. And then I have the school info, because we also do outreach to the schools. So I'm going to create 3 contacts. So now I'll have to start creating these. Now they're not all individuals, but let's start with this contact one. It's just a contact type of individual, and just so I can decipher who I'm talking about here, I'm going to call it the youth applicant. Right. So this belongs to the youth applicant. Existing contact info is not something I would ever really want to expose on a form where anonymous folks can enter, because it allows them to do lookups on your database. It could potentially be an issue. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to collect first name, last name, middle name. I do need the birth date, particularly for my program. And I'm just going to leave it that, keep it simple there. And now I'm going to I'm just going to use my default unsupervised rule, which for us is like name and email or phone or street address. But that's up to you, whatever it is for yourselves. I do want to collect, if folks want to identify and give us their pronouns, we will do that. Address fields, always good to have. I'm going to have them enter their address. And here, and like other places, like, again, it's coming from a form. In case the person already exists, I want to make sure I use from the web so I don't blast away some good existing information. I could do some cleanup later. And then the phone. And again, depending on their age, they may or may not have their own phone, but I will ask the question. You can enter their parent or guardian phone. And so here I'm going to use from the web and use, I'm going to assume it's a mobile. Same thing with email. If they don't have their own email, they can always give their parent or guardian email. So I'm going to put from the web. I think that's pretty much it right now that I need from them. It's really just the birth date. Again, whatever you decide you want to ask, you can do that. So that's just for the youth. For the parent guardian, and here I'm going to put down parent or guardian info. Again, I'm going to want just first name, last name. Maybe we could always throw in the middle name. I'm going to leave the rest of it there. And then we're going to assume the address is going to be the address already in the youth applicant. I really need a phone number. I want to get their phone number in case I do have to make a call. So I'm just, again, setting it to mobile, and I want an email address from them. So these are things I would definitely want. So basically that's all I want from them. And now notice here, I can start also, because I've got 3 contacts, I can create relationships now. So this relationship fields opens up. And so I'm going to say yes, because I want to create that relationship on the fly. So it's going to say relationship to the youth applicant. And here I'm just going to pick they are the parent guardian. So you want to make sure your relationships are also created. So I have the parent guardian. That's all I need to put there. And so I'm pretty much done with this contact. Now I'm going to go to the school. So the school is an organization of type school. So if they enter a new one, I'll know it'll create that particular organization type of school. So I'm going to enter here that this is the school info. And there are some fields in there. There's one field that I do want them to identify. So that's going to be in there. And here I'm just going to have the name of the school. And the other thing I'm going to want, I just want minimal information about the school. So I'm just going to have one address field, and I just need the postal code, city, and state, and zip. That's it. That's all I'm going to add there. I'll leave this also from the web. And here again, I can do the relationship fields. And so I created these custom relationships, and I can also use that their student is. So there's the relationship to the youth is that their student is, and then the other way from the youth to the school, the youth is considered student of. So it's going to create that all on the fly, which makes it really nice. And so that's those 3 contacts. Now I still need to add the activity because I want to timestamp when the application was submitted and also get information from the student. So I'm going to click on the activities. I only need one. In this case, I only need one. Notice you can create more than one activity, but I only need one that's going to be attached to the youth applicant. I'm just going to want to view web form in the details, so it's easy for me to click and look at their web form submission. Of course, only people with permissions can see those web form submissions. So under activity type, I'm going to go down to my youth leadership application. And here's going to be important. I only want to attach this activity only to the youth. I don't really want it for the parent or the school. Just the youth matters to me. So I'm going to enter that. So it's timestamp there. And everything else here, we don't really need. I may want to add it to my youth leadership program as part of my campaign. So I can easily, it's like tagging the activity type. So it's easy to look for that. So that's all I need. Everything else will be defaulted. Time, date, nothing else for them to enter. And now I'm going to enter the fields under these are those custom activity fields I created for the youth leadership. I'm going to want to know their grade, their workshop interest, and why they're interested, the details. So I think I got what I need. You can always come back and add more if you like. Note there's other things, but this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to click on save. And now it just throws everything on the page pretty all over the place. So if I click on view, it's always nice to go back and forth. I'm going to click on the view, and you can sort of see how it's organizing it now, right? So I'm going to just start moving around. The first thing I like to do is make sure I got all my fields are all here. And the first thing I'll do is either I'll move things around or at least decide which is required. So let's do the required one first. I'm going to go to the web form, and for the youth, required for their information, I want definitely the first name, the last name, the birth date. I do want the address. I'm going to put that all in there. I want at least a phone number because if they don't have one, hopefully the parent guardian has one. And you can require the email. So it's either going to be theirs or it's going to be the parent. So it's up to you what you want to do here. The parent guardian, I want first name, the last name, a phone number, and email. And then the school info, I need this. And I definitely want all these pieces so I can identify the school. Some schools have similar names, maybe. Pronouns, I don't need. School, I do want them to identify the school type. And then the questions I want them to answer. So at the very least, these are the required fields. And then if I go to view, so I always have to do that before I do anything else. You can see it's already started. So I think I got things I need. Now I can start moving things around. I'm going to start reorganizing the data that I want them to see first. So we have the birth date. I think what I'm going to do is move that pronoun up top here. So if they want to offer the pronoun, I will have it after their name. their birth date, then city. I'm going to move the phone number up. Actually, I'll put the phone number here, the email here. So I'm prioritizing a few things. I'm going to flip the state, put the postal code later. We'll fix these labels. First name, middle name, last name. This all looks good here. Organization name, we'll change that name here. And the school info, here I'm going to just sort of group this and move it in there. I want to know what type of school it is. And then we have the questions. I'm just going to move some questions. I'm just going to have their questions sort of sit outside of the box a little bit. And before I do anything else, so it saves the order I've done, I'm going to save. And so let's take a look. I got the view now. So I've got first name. This all looks like in the order I want it. We're going to do some work in fixing these fields so they make more sense. There's the parent, guardian info. There's the school info. And then there's the grade. These are the questions that we want them to ask. And I'm going to change and fix up. And then I'm going to hide these fields. Right? I'm just going to hide these things. Again, when you're bringing in the fields, they live in these custom data sets. So the name of the set comes in. So we can hide this from them. So let's clean that up first. Let's do some cleanup. I'm going to go and just hide these fields that I don't want them to see. They're just labels, really. They're not fields. They're labels. So I'm going to just go hide the label. Private. Make it private just means they can't do anything with it. Can't enter in it. I just like to do it for extra security. I just like to make things private if I don't want anybody to touch it. And then same thing with this activity. So I'm going to just clean that out and hiding and private. And when I go back to the view, remember I'm logged in, so I'm going to see these funky lines. They're not going to see this at all. All right, so now I'm going to go in and do some cleanup of labels. I may want to change what it says. I may want to change some of the options. Maybe I want to default this state, and we'll do that next. So let's go back to the web form. Everything's under the web form. And so all this stuff looks fine. I could say, your pronouns. Not everybody understands that, but there are some that do. So I'm gonna, especially if they've been in our program before, birth date, phone number, email, and you can say things like your email, or I go like this, your email, or your parent, guardian's email. So you can make things sort of like, again, not knowing what folks have access to, especially how young they are. Same thing, you could do the same, a phone number. And again, you can add more in there. I'm just going to keep this simple. I'm going to change anything with state to just say state. And I'm going to default to North Carolina because they're really dealing more with our local folks. I'm going to stick with our North Carolina. Again, you don't have to do that. Just it makes it easier for them, less data entry that way. Again, I can go in and fix that postal code. I'm going to change that to zip because that's how we understand it. I'm doing some cleanup right now. A couple other things you might need to look at here. So got first name, last name, phone number, email. I'll leave that the same. For the parent, guardian is fine. Here I may want to call this actually instead of organization name, I may call it school name because that's really what I'm asking. So I have the school name. I am going to default again to North Carolina just for less data entry. Again, that can be changed. I'm going to hit save. And then under postal code, I'm going to change that to zip. And here, I'm going to go to the school type. And again, depending on the school, my school type, again, if I decided that I'm not really taking in, let's say I've decided I'm not going to take any college or university folks, and I just really want elementary through high school, I could just say, let's only show, I put it on static options. I can just say only show these, because these are, I'm only going to take in folks up to high school. So I may just do that instead of grabbing everybody through college. Maybe that's a different program. So let's just do that. So they can just see that. I'm going to hit save. And then that will have to fix then the grade. So again, I could change the school to type of school. I mean, you could change it. I'm just going to leave it that school type. And then under, let's go fix now the questions. So grade, I want to actually ask it as a question. I could say, what grade are you in? What grade are you in? And here, I'm going to change these options because I'm only going to say my program is really from 7th to 12th graders. I am going to then move it to static option so I can configure this. I can then only, if I uncheck it, then I'll only check the grades that I'm accepting into this program. I have other programs that do other things, and I'm just going to hit save. And if I just do a quick check on that, let's just really check what I've done. You can see the school type is only going to show those, and then what grade you're in is only going to show up to 12, right? So then let's go finish a couple more things. I'm going to go here and edit this question. What workshops are you interested in? And please check all that apply. We're going to just leave it as is. Nothing to change there. And then I'm going to also change this question, the interested details, and say, like, please describe why you're interested in leadership program. So then they can just write some things in there. All right, so let's take a look at what we have. This is just the fields. We can see we have all that information, the school type, what grade you're in. Again, you can get more fancy if you want to here. I'm going to keep it simple. One thing I may want to do is I may want to send emails. You can give email notifications. So here I can click on web form. I can go to the email, and I may want to send it to staff, whoever's in charge of this program. So I'm going to send it to staff, and I can send it to more than one staff if I want, just by putting a comma, and you add whoever gets it, and I'm going to click add. And then I may want to also send an email to the parent guardian as well as to the student, right, if they have an email. So I can go in now. Let me finish this one up. This one I don't really need to I'm just going to leave the defaults because I just want the notification. So I don't have to change anything here. This basically is just the information from the form. So I'm going to leave that. So let's add now. I'm going to add when it says component values, like what field in your form do you want to send it to? Now there are, this is the student one and that's the parent one. That's why I put that label. So I'm going to first do the student one. I'm going to click the add, and it's probably going to be the same exact thing as the parent one. So I'm just going to leave it there, let it send. I am going to give it a custom and just say thanks. Application. Again, I can make this longer. I'm going to leave it where it's coming from. Again, you can customize email addresses, customize the email from. And here I may just say, thanks for your application. We will contact you soon. I may put my information down at the bottom, but I may leave it a copy. Like this is a copy. I can say, here's a copy of your application. And then they can see it. And then I can sign off down at the bottom here if I want. So I'm going to save that one. Same thing with the parent one. I'm going to want to also send one to the parent. So I can do the same thing. So I'm just going to put in here, just put in the application. And again, I can just say, thank you, right? Whatever, and I can keep writing out the information there. And again, I can put my sign off after this area so they can see the copy. So that's basically all I have to do there. And that sets up all the email notifications as soon as that form is sent. So that's a very handy thing to have there. So now I have basically, again, could spend more time making it prettier if you want, but for now, let's keep it simple. And now I'm going to put a theme on it. So it looks like my website and they don't see it looking like my database. So let's put the theme. And to put the theme, I have to know what node number it is. Using the view only gives us the alias, so that's not helpful. So I have to go to webform or pick any of these other tabs and it'll tell me what number. So I'm on number 12. So to change the theme, I'm going to go to administration. Notice I'm still in the PowerBase training side, the Drupal side. I'm going to go to administration. I'm going to go to configuration, click on theme key. This is how you apply different themes. And here I'm going to go at the bottom, I'm going to add a new one. And in this case, it's called node NID equals 12. 12 was that web form number ID, node ID. And here I'm going to apply it to the demo theme. And I'm going to save that theme. And now I can go back to my content, which is where all the forms are. And there's my form. And I'm going to go and click on that. And now you can see, again, I'm still logged in, so I'm seeing this information here. So let's go and test this now and make sure relationships are in there, the activity gets set. So let's go do that now. So I'm going to grab, as you see, there is the form. When you click on the View tab, the URL is the link up there. That's the form that you can either put up on your website or in an email, or you can send it out on social media, whatever works for you. So I'm going to go, oops, I ended up clicking back on I'm going to go now to a tab where I'm not logged in, and I'm going to go and type that in. There it is. I copied that URL. I'm going to hit enter. I'm not logged into the database because I don't have that menu. So I'm actually going to just enter some information. And just doing something, let's go. And here I can just put down and I need a birth date. This is sort of nice. I'm gonna say it's June 1st. I always have to figure out, let's say it's 2015. I think that's 2005, sorry, 2015, they'd be really young. 2005, I think that gets them around 16 years old. I'm gonna add my number. And then I'm going to add an address here. And that's my email address. And yes, I may have to have an address here. I'm just putting some information. I obviously put all this information that was required, so bear with me. And now I'm going to put the just put something here on a chip and just entering some information. And all right, so I have that. And then now I'm going to enter the school. So let's just let's call it the South Side. And the thing that you saw there is just because it's just the web form is picking up things I've typed in before. It's not what's in the database. So this is Southside High School. And again, I'm just going to put down, well, it's just what's cached, so that it's not showing anything really in the database. I'm going to put in 2724. And here I'm going to enter the school type. Mine's a high school. What grade am I in? I'm going to assume I'm in 10th. I'm going to just pick the ones I like, I want to be really interested in doing. And about organizing or whatever, they decide to write. And then I'm going to hit submit. So emails are sent. We get this. I didn't do anything with the landing page. you can always add more information on the landing. Right now, it's just if you don't put anything in the landing page, you just get this. You can go back to the form, and I can show you what that looks like. So let's go back to the database. And let's first, I'm going to go back to the web form just to show you quickly. If I go to content, I'm going to go to the program application just to show you about that landing page where I may not have mentioned. Under web form settings, this is also where you can update the confirmation message after they submit. Now, I didn't put a message. That's why you just saw the thank you page. That's why you just saw this. When you don't put anything there, but you can put the thank you information in there. You can have links in there. You can have, right now it just goes to the page. Otherwise, you can redirect them to another link. If you click this, you can have them go someplace else. Or they don't redirect at all. It just reloads the current page. So that's how you can handle this. Thank you. Let's take a look at the results. So here's the great thing. You can look at the results. You can see, oh, great. I've got one person so far. I can go in and actually view their application, right? So this is what they actually submitted, right? So you can see that right there. You can see the form as it is. I'm going to go back to web form results. Obviously, you would see more. A couple of things here. There's only one person right now, but you can see there's an analysis. You can actually, if there's things you can count, it will count it for you, right? Depending how you ask the question. Otherwise, you can see all the information in a table, sort of like a spreadsheet format. You can see it just runs it across. And note, you can download stuff directly as a spreadsheet. That's sort of cool about web forms. The other thing, if I go back to the results, I can go right to the record in PowerBase by just clicking on the youth applicants. I'm going to go over and I just right click. I'm going to go to Fanny's record. There's Fanny's record. And you can see there's the application. The source always comes in where they came in from. There's their information, right? There's their age, the date of birth, because I use that date of birth field. And the age will be automatically calculated. So that's sort of cool. Pronouns. Now let's take a look at relationships. So here's sort of cool. It created two relationships, the child of Mama Chip. So Mama Chip is there, and we should have the information from Mama Chip. We also see that they're a student at Southside High School. So let's make sure that got entered correctly. And it's a contact type of school. And they're Southside, and all we had here was the address, and we did have information about the school. It's a type of high school. That was the other information that they added. And let's go back to Fanny and let's check out that activity. So the activity is created. There's a youth application. Note if I just view this application activity, I can see, there's a link to the web form because that's how I had set it up. And if I can just go ahead. Now, again, you have to have permissions to view the web form submissions, but I can see it goes directly to their form. Otherwise, you can go ahead and see the fields that they entered in that application right there. And so all this stuff is you can search on it. So that is working with a complex web form where you're collecting information from multiple contexts and attaching an activity and also creating relationships.